The steak was sizzling perfectly when my world started falling apart. Medium rare, just like Rebecca always liked it. The candles were lit, the wine was breathing, and I'd even managed to get those ridiculously expensive roses she loved from that pretentious florist downtown. Everything was set for her 28th birthday dinner at Romano's, the same restaurant where I'd proposed 6 months ago. I'm Danny Mitchell, and I fix cars for a living. Not exactly the glamorous life Rebecca's friends think she deserves, but my auto shop does well enough to afford the finer things she craves. The engagement ring on her finger cost me 3 months' profit, but seeing her face light up when I slipped it on made every penny worth it. Babe, you almost ready? I called upstairs, checking my watch. 6:15? Our reservation was at 7, and Romano's doesn't hold tables, even for guys who propose there. 5 more minutes! Rebecca's voice drifted down from our bedroom. I'd been hearing 5 more minutes for the past hour. But that's just Rebecca. She's an event planner for some high-end company downtown, always perfectly put together, always making an entrance. It's part of what I fell for, the way she could walk into a room and own it. I straightened my tie in the hallway mirror. Not bad for a grease monkey, I thought. The navy suit was new, bought specifically for tonight. Rebecca had been dropping hints all week about how special she wanted this birthday to be, how she'd been looking forward to our dinner, how romantic it would be. My phone buzzed. Text from my buddy Jake at the boxing gym. Have fun tonight, lover boy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. I grinned and typed back. That leaves me a lot of options. Danny! Rebecca appeared at the top of the stairs, and my breath caught. She looked incredible in that black dress, the one that hugged every curve and made her legs look like they went on forever. Her blonde hair was perfectly curled, makeup flawless, red lips that promised trouble. Wow, I managed. You look, I know, she smiled, that confident smile that first caught my attention at a charity event my shop sponsored. You clean up pretty well yourself, Mr. Mitchell. She glided down the stairs, but something felt off. She kept checking her phone, that little crease appearing between her eyebrows that meant she was stressed about something. Everything okay? I asked, helping her with her coat. Perfect, but she was typing rapidly on her phone. Just work stuff, you know how it is. I didn't, actually. When I left the shop, I left work behind. But Rebecca's job seemed to follow her everywhere, demanding attention at all hours. Event planning for rich clients meant being available 24/7, or so she always told me. We were almost to the door when her phone rang. She glanced at the screen, and I saw something flicker across her face. Panic? Excitement? It happened too fast to tell. I need to take this, she said, already answering. Sarah? What's wrong? I waited by the door, keys in hand, watching as Rebecca's expression changed. She turned away from me, lowering her voice. Are you serious? Right now? But I can't. I have plans. My stomach started to knot. We'd had these plans for weeks. I'd reminded her just this morning, and she'd kissed me and said she couldn't wait. Hold on. She covered the phone and turned to me, biting her lower lip. Danny, I'm so sorry, but there's an emergency. Sarah's having a crisis, and I need to run over there real quick. Now! We have dinner reservations in 40 minutes. I know. But she's my best friend, and she's really upset about something. It'll just be 30 minutes, I promise. We can push the reservation back an hour. I stared at her, trying to read her face. Rebecca was loyal to her friends, sometimes to a fault. Sarah Chen was her closest friend from college, her maid of honor. The one person who could get Rebecca to drop everything and run. What kind of emergency? Girl stuff. You know how Sarah gets. She was already grabbing her purse, checking her reflection one more time in the hallway mirror. Just give me an hour, Max. Call Romano's and push it back to 8. I'll make it up to you, I promise. She kissed my cheek quickly, leaving a lipstick mark I could smell. That expensive perfume I'd bought her for Christmas mixing with something else. Nerves, maybe. Rebecca, wait. But she was already out the door, heels clicking on the driveway as she hurried to her car. I watched through the window as she backed out, talking animatedly on her phone, gesturing with her free hand. Something felt wrong. In 3 years together, Rebecca had never bailed on our plans like this. She was obsessive about her schedule, about keeping commitments. And the way she'd avoided eye contact when she kissed me goodbye, I shook my head. I was being paranoid. Sarah probably was having some kind of breakdown. Wouldn't be the first time. Rebecca would comfort her, problem solve like she always did, and then come home to me. We'd have a late dinner, laugh about the drama, and I'd give her the diamond earrings I'd hidden in my sock drawer. I called Romano's and moved our reservation to 8:30. The hostess wasn't happy, but she agreed to hold the table. 7 o'clock came and went. No call, no text. 7:30. I tried calling Rebecca, straight to voicemail. 8 o'clock. I texted, "Hey babe, everything okay? Should I call Romano's again?" No response. 8:15. I called Sarah's number. It rang and rang, then went to voicemail too. By 8:30, I was pacing the living room like a caged animal. I called Romano's and canceled completely, apologizing profusely to a very annoyed hostess who informed me they'd turned away 3 couples for our table. 9 o'clock. I tried Rebecca's phone again. This time, it didn't even ring. Went straight to voicemail, like she'd turned it off. That's when the real panic set in. I'd never realized how loud silence could be. Every creak of the house settling, every car that passed outside, every distant siren made my heart jump. Maybe that was Rebecca coming home. Maybe that was the hospital calling because she'd been in an accident. By 10 o'clock, I was calling hospitals. St. Mary's, General, even the urgent care centers. No Rebecca Mitchell, no Sarah Chen. No accidents reported involving 2 young women. "Sir, if you're concerned about a missing person, you should contact the police," the nurse at General told me. Missing person. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Was Rebecca missing? Or had she just lost track of time, comforting Sarah, and forgotten to call? But Rebecca never forgot to call. She was compulsive about communication, always letting me know where she was, what she was doing, when she'd be home. It was one of the things I loved about her. I never had to wonder or worry, until tonight. I tried calling her office friends. Most didn't answer. It was Friday night, after all. The few who did pick up hadn't heard from Rebecca all day. She left work early, her assistant manager told me. Said she had birthday dinner plans with her fiancé. "That's you, right?" "Yeah, that's me. I'm sure she's fine, Danny." You know how Rebecca is. When she's focused on something, the world disappears. Probably just lost track of time. But it wasn't like Rebecca. It wasn't like her at all. I found myself checking her location on my phone every few minutes. We'd shared locations when we got engaged. Her idea, actually. "I want you to always know where I am," she'd said. "No secrets between us." Her location was turned off. That's what made my blood run cold. Rebecca never turned off her location sharing. She was proud of her busy social life, always checking in from restaurants and events and client meetings. She liked people to know where she was, what she was doing. So why turn it off tonight? I tried Sarah's apartment. No answer when I knocked. Her car wasn't in the parking lot. By midnight, I was driving around the city like a madman. Every bar Rebecca liked, every restaurant, every coffee shop where she might be consoling Sarah. Nothing. No one had seen them. I even drove past the office building where Rebecca worked, thinking maybe they'd gone there for privacy. The parking garage was empty except for a few cars belonging to the night security crew. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I finally gave up and went home, exhausted and sick with worry. I left every light in the house on and sat on the couch, phone in hand, waiting. That's where I was when I heard her key in the lock at 9:15 the next morning. She walked in like nothing had happened. Same black dress, but wrinkled now. Makeup smudged around her eyes. Shoes in her hand. Stockings with a run down the left leg. "Hey, babe," she said casually, dropping her purse on the kitchen counter. "Sorry I'm so late." I stared at her from the couch, trying to process what I was seeing. She looked like she'd been out all night, which, obviously, she had. But there was something else, a smell I couldn't quite place. Cigarettes, maybe? Rebecca didn't smoke. "Where were you?" My voice came out hoarse from no sleep and too much worry. "At Sarah's. I told you." She was already heading for the stairs, not quite meeting my eyes. Her situation was more complicated than I thought. We talked all night, and I guess I fell asleep on her couch. I went to Sarah's apartment. No one was there. Rebecca paused on the 3rd step. We weren't at her place. We went to her sister's house, for privacy. Sarah's sister lived in Portland, 3 hours away. "Rebecca," I stood up slowly, my legs stiff from sitting in the same position all night. "I called you 40 times. I called Sarah. I went to hospitals, thinking you'd been in an accident. My phone died." She turned to face me, and I saw something in her expression I'd never seen before. Guilt? Fear? "I'm sorry you were worried, but I told you I'd be helping Sarah." "For 15 hours? Without calling once? Danny, I'm exhausted. Can we talk about this later? I need a shower and some sleep. She started up the stairs again, but something made me grab my phone. Maybe it was the way she wouldn't look at me directly. Maybe it was the smell of cigarettes and something else, cologne that wasn't mine. Maybe it was just the fact that in 3 years together, Rebecca had never, not once, gone anywhere without telling me exactly where she'd be and when she'd be back. I opened Instagram, thinking maybe Sarah had posted something about her emergency. Sarah documented everything on social media, her breakfast, her workouts, her emotional breakdowns. If she'd had a crisis big enough to steal my fiancé on her birthday, she would have posted about it. Sarah's story was full of posts from the night before, but they weren't about any emergency. They were from the Grand Ocean View Resort, 2 hours north of the city, right on the beach, 5-star luxury, the kind of place that charged more for one night than I made in a week. The first post was a selfie of Sarah in a bikini by the pool. Cocktail in hand, caption, birthday weekend vibes, timestamp, 6:47 p.m. Right around the time Rebecca was supposed to be having her emergency. The second post was a group shot. 5 women in cocktail dresses, champagne glasses raised, big smiles. I recognized 3 of them, Rebecca's work friends. And there, right in the center, was Rebecca, my Rebecca, in the black dress she'd worn to our canceled dinner, laughing at something off camera. The timestamp read, 8:23 p.m. Exactly when we were supposed to be sitting down at Romano's. But it was the third post that made my blood freeze. Rebecca was dancing, not just dancing, grinding against some guy I'd never seen before. He was tall, dark-haired, wearing an expensive-looking shirt unbuttoned too far. His hands were on her hips, her arms around his neck, and she was looking up at him, like he was the only person in the world. The timestamp, 11:47 p.m. While I was driving around the city like a lunatic, checking hospitals and calling her name, I scrolled through more stories, my hands shaking. There was Rebecca at the resort bar, doing shots with strangers. Rebecca in the pool at midnight, splashing and laughing with the same dark-haired guy. Rebecca at what looked like a private party in one of the resort suites, sitting on some other guy's lap while he whispered in her ear. And in every single post, she was tagged. At Rebecca Mitchell. Her location was right there for anyone to see. Grand Ocean View Resort. Sarah had tagged her in every single story. Rebecca didn't know. I could tell by the way she'd walked in, casual and confident, spinning her story about Sarah's emergency and dead phone batteries. She thought she'd gotten away with it. She'd probably planned to shower, change clothes, and pretend she'd spent the night consoling her heartbroken friend. But Sarah had tagged her in every post, and Instagram had been broadcasting Rebecca's real location all night long. I heard the shower start upstairs. Rebecca was probably congratulating herself on her clever story, thinking I'd bought the whole thing about Sarah's crisis and her dead phone. I took screenshots of everything, every post, every timestamp, every tag. The evidence of where she'd really been, what she'd really been doing while I sat at home terrified that something had happened to her. When Rebecca came downstairs 20 minutes later, hair wet and wearing my old college sweatshirt, she looked refreshed, confident, ready to sell me on her story about the emergency that had kept her away all night. Feel better? I asked from the kitchen table, my phone face down beside my untouched coffee. Much. Thanks for being so understanding about last night. She kissed the top of my head, and I smelled her shampoo, the expensive stuff she saved for special occasions. Sarah's doing better now. Crisis averted. Good. I'm glad you could help her. Rebecca poured herself coffee, humming softly. She seemed almost giddy, like she was riding some kind of high. So what was the emergency exactly? I asked casually. Oh, you know Sarah, boy trouble. She thought she was in love with this guy from work, but he turned out to be married. She was devastated. That's rough. Where did you end up going to talk? You said not her apartment. Her sister's place, like I said. Rebecca wasn't looking at me, busy adding cream and sugar to her coffee. More private there. In Portland? What? No, not Portland. Her other sister, the one who lives across town. Sarah didn't have another sister. I'd met her whole family at our engagement party. Well, I'm just glad you were there for her, I said. Then I picked up my phone and turned it around so she could see the screen. By the way, this is interesting. Rebecca glanced at the phone, and I watched her face change. The color drained from her cheeks as she stared at Sarah's Instagram story, at her own face laughing in that group shot, champagne glass raised. timestamp clearly visible. "This is Sarah's house?" I asked, my voice deadly calm. "Across town?" Rebecca's coffee mug slipped from her fingers and shattered on the kitchen floor, sending ceramic shards and hot liquid everywhere. She didn't even look down. "Danny, I can explain." "Explain what?" I scrolled to the next story, showing her the video of herself dancing with the stranger. "Explain how you were grinding on some random guy while I was calling hospitals? It's not what it looks like." I almost laughed. "It looks like you lied to me, disappeared on your birthday, our planned birthday dinner, and went to party at a 5-star resort with guys I've never seen before." The girls surprised me. The words tumbled out in a rush. "I was going to tell you about Sarah's emergency, but then they showed up and said they'd planned this whole weekend getaway for my birthday, and I didn't want to hurt their feelings. So you hurt mine instead. I was going to call, but then my phone died, and I didn't have your number memorized, and—" "Rebecca." I stood up slowly, and she took a step back. "Your phone wasn't dead. You turned off location sharing. You deliberately made sure I couldn't find you. I didn't want you to worry. I worried anyway. I spent the entire night thinking you were dead in a ditch somewhere." My voice was getting louder, and I could see her flinching with each word. "I called every hospital in the city. I drove around looking for you until 3 in the morning. I'm sorry, okay? I should have called. I know that. But it was my birthday, and the girls went to so much trouble. The girls!" I scrolled through more of Sarah's posts, showing her image after image of herself with strange men. "These girls?" She looked at the screen and went even paler. There she was, sitting on some guy's lap while he nuzzled her neck. There she was, letting another man feed her champagne and strawberries. There she was, in what looked like a hotel room, laughing as someone off camera, definitely male, judging by the hairy arm reaching into the frame, handed her another drink. "Nothing happened," she whispered. "Nothing happened." I set the phone down and looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I'd planned to marry, who I'd trusted completely, who I'd been worried sick about for 15 hours. "You disappeared without a word, lied about where you were going, turned off your location so I couldn't find you, ignored 40 phone calls from your terrified fiancé, and spent the night partying with random men at a luxury resort. But nothing happened. Nothing serious happened. We were just having fun. Fun." The word tasted bitter in my mouth. "You know what would have been fun? The dinner I planned, the reservations I made weeks ago, the birthday present I bought you." I gestured toward the living room, where the small wrapped box containing diamond earrings still sat on the coffee table. But I guess that wasn't exciting enough. Rebecca followed my gaze and saw the present. Her face crumpled. "Oh, Danny, I forgot about dinner. I'm so sorry. I completely forgot." "You didn't forget. You chose. You chose to lie to me and run off with your friends instead of spending your birthday with your fiancé. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Sarah called and said they were at the resort, and it was a surprise, and I thought I could just stop by for an hour." "An hour?" I picked up my phone again and showed her the timestamps. 6:47 p.m. to 3:23 a.m. That's not an hour, Rebecca. That's 9 hours. 9 hours of partying while I sat here terrified. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. I lost track of time. I know how that sounds, but I swear, I just lost track of time. You lost track of time while sitting on another man's lap. He was just being friendly. They were all just being friendly. I scrolled to a video Sarah had posted around midnight. Rebecca was in the resort's pool, and the same dark-haired guy from earlier was lifting her up, her legs wrapped around his waist, both of them laughing. This kind of friendly? Danny, please, you're taking this all wrong. Am I? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like my fiancée decided she'd rather spend her birthday with strangers than with me. It looks like she lied, snuck around, and got caught because her friend was too drunk to remember not to tag her in public posts. Rebecca's eyes widened. She tagged me? In every single post. Your location, your face, everything you did last night is documented on Instagram for the world to see. I showed her Sarah's follower count. 18,000 people, Rebecca. 18,000 people saw you partying with other men while your fiancé sat at home worried sick. She sank into a chair, head in her hands. Oh God, I didn't know she was posting. I told her not to post anything, but she did. And now I know exactly where you were, exactly what you were doing, and exactly how little you thought of me while you were doing it. That's not true. I thought about you. When? When you were doing shots with strangers? When you were dancing with that guy? When you were letting him put his hands all over you? I was shouting now, 3 years of trust and love curdling into something ugly and bitter. When exactly were you thinking about your worried fiancé? I was going to tell you everything when I got home. No, you weren't. You were going to lie. You walked in here with a story about Sarah's emergency and your dead phone, and you would have kept lying if I hadn't seen the Instagram posts. Rebecca looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. What do you want me to say? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I want you to tell me the truth. How long have you been planning this? Planning what? The resort trip, the lies. How long have you been wanting to get away from me? I haven't. Danny, I love you. You love me. But you'd rather spend your birthday with strangers. They're not strangers. They're friends of Sarah's. Male friends you've never mentioned. Male friends you let touch you, buy you drinks, carry you around in pools. I grabbed my keys from the counter. You know what? I can't do this right now. Where are you going? Anywhere but here. Danny, wait! Please, we can work this out. I stopped at the door and turned back to her. She looked small and broken, mascara streaking her face, my college sweatshirt hanging loose on her frame. You want to work this out? Tell me something. If Sarah hadn't tagged you in those posts, if I hadn't seen them, what would you have told me about last night? She opened her mouth, then closed it again. That's what I thought. I walked out, leaving her crying in the kitchen surrounded by broken ceramic and spilled coffee, and drove straight to Jake's boxing gym. I needed to hit something before I completely lost my mind. Jake took one look at my face and pointed toward the heavy bag without saying a word. That's why he was my best friend. He knew when to talk and when to let a man work out his demons with his fists. I hit that bag for 2 hours straight until my knuckles were raw and my shoulders burned. But no amount of physical pain could touch the sick feeling in my gut. The image of Rebecca wrapped around some stranger while I sat at home planning our future. You ready to talk about it? Jake asked when I finally stopped, sweat dripping onto the gym floor. I told him everything. The canceled dinner, the sleepless night, the Instagram posts, the lies. Jake listened without interrupting, occasionally shaking his head or muttering under his breath. Man, he said when I finished, that's cold. Even for Rebecca, what's that supposed to mean? Jake grabbed us both water bottles from the mini fridge. Danny, I love you like a brother, but you've been blind when it comes to that woman. She's always been about herself first. That's not true, isn't it? When's the last time she came to one of your fights? When's the last time she hung out here at the gym, or came to Tony's for pizza with the guys, or did anything that was about your world instead of hers? I wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come. Rebecca had been to the gym exactly twice in 3 years. Once when we first started dating, and once to drag me away early from a fight night because she had some work event. She's busy with her job. We're all busy, Danny. But when you love someone, you make time for their world too. My phone had been buzzing constantly since I left the house. Texts from Rebecca, missed calls, voicemails I hadn't listened to. I finally turned it off and shoved it in my locker. What are you going to do? Jake asked. I don't know. But I did know. Deep down, I knew. You don't come back from something like this. You don't rebuild trust after your partner chooses strangers over you, lies to your face, and only feels sorry when they get caught. I spent the rest of the day at the gym, helping Jake with inventory, fixing a loose chain on the speed bag, anything to keep my hands busy and my mind off Rebecca. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw those Instagram posts, her face, glowing with happiness as she partied without me, her body, pressed against men who weren't her fiancé. Around 6 p.m., Jake's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and frowned. It's Rebecca, he said. She's calling me. Don't answer it. Danny, don't answer it. Jake declined the call, but it rang again immediately, and again. She's persistent, he muttered. She's desperate. There's a difference. Finally, Jake turned his phone off too. We ordered Chinese food and ate in silence, the gym quiet except for the occasional car passing outside. This was supposed to be Rebecca's birthday weekend. We'd planned to sleep late tomorrow, maybe drive up the coast, have a lazy Sunday together. Instead, I was hiding in a boxing gym, trying to figure out how to untangle 3 years of my life. You know what pisses me off the most? I said suddenly. Jake looked up from his low men. What's that? She was happy. In those posts, she looked genuinely happy. Happier than I'd seen her in months. Maybe she was just drunk. No. I know Rebecca's drunk face. This was different. She was free, like she'd been carrying some burden, and finally put it down. And the burden was you? The words hit like a punch to the solar plexus. Yeah, I think maybe it was. We finished eating in silence. Around 9, Jake offered to let me crash at his place, but I needed to go home eventually. I needed to face whatever came next. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. Rebecca's car was gone. Inside, I found a note on the kitchen table, written in her careful handwriting. Danny, I'm staying at my sister's tonight. I know you need space, and I need to think about what I've done. I love you more than anything, and I know I messed up badly. Please don't give up on us. We can fix this, Ray. Next to the note was her engagement ring. I picked it up, feeling the weight of it in my palm. 3 months profit. 3 months of working extra hours, skipping lunches, saving every penny to buy her the perfect ring. The diamond caught the kitchen light and threw tiny rainbows across the wall. She'd left it behind, either as a gesture, proof that she understood how badly she'd screwed up, or because she'd already decided we were over and wanted to make it easy for me. I sat at the kitchen table for a long time, turning the ring over in my fingers, thinking about the night I'd proposed. Rebecca had cried, happy tears, she'd insisted, and said yes before I'd even finished my speech. We'd made love afterward, and she'd kept holding her hand up to the light, admiring the way the diamonds sparkled. I can't believe you picked something so perfect, she'd whispered against my chest. I can't believe you're mine, but I wasn't hers. Not really. If I had been, she wouldn't have been able to walk away so easily. She wouldn't have chosen a party with strangers over dinner with me. She wouldn't have lied and snuck around and only felt guilty when she got caught. I put the ring in my pocket and went upstairs to bed. But sleep didn't come easy, and when it did, I dreamed of Rebecca dancing with faceless men while I watched from the shadows, invisible and forgotten. Rebecca came back Sunday morning while I was drinking coffee and reading the newspaper, trying to pretend my life hadn't imploded. She looked terrible, eyes red and swollen, hair unwashed, wearing the same clothes she'd had on when she left. We need to talk, she said, hovering in the doorway like she wasn't sure she was welcome in her own house. Yeah, we do. She sat across from me at the kitchen table, the same spot where I'd confronted her with the Instagram posts 2 days ago. The broken coffee mug had been cleaned up, but I could still see a tiny shard of ceramic glinting under the refrigerator. I've been thinking about what happened, she began. About what I did to you, to us. And I know I can't just apologize and expect everything to go back to normal. I waited, saying nothing. I was selfish and stupid and cruel. I put my own desire for fun above your feelings, above our relationship. I lied to you, and I hurt you, and I'm so sorry. Why? I asked. What do you mean? Why did you do it? Help me understand, Rebecca. We had plans, good plans, romantic plans that you seemed excited about all week. So why throw that away to party with people you barely know? She was quiet for a long moment, staring at her hands. I don't know. That's not good enough. I mean it, Danny. I don't know why I did it. Sarah called and said they were all at the resort, and it sounded exciting and spontaneous, and I wanted to be part of it. More than you wanted to be with me. No, that's not. She stopped, took a breath. Maybe in that moment, yes. And I hate myself for it. At least she was being honest now. Do you know what the worst part is? I asked. She shook her head. It's that you were happy. In those photos, you looked happier than I'd seen you in months, like you'd been pretending to be content with me, and finally you got to be yourself. That's not true, isn't it? When's the last time you looked at me the way you were looking at that guy in the pool? Rebecca's face crumpled. Danny, please. When's the last time you laughed with me the way you were laughing with him? Stop. When's the last time you chose me over something else you wanted to do? She was crying now, ugly sobs that shook her whole body. I don't know, okay? I don't know when I stopped being happy with you, or when I started feeling trapped, or when I began looking at other men and wondering what if. I don't know any of that. Finally, the truth. But I know I love you, she continued. I know I want to marry you. I know I made a terrible mistake, and I'll do anything to fix it. Anything. Yes, anything. I pulled her engagement ring from my pocket and set it on the table between us. She stared at it like it might bite her. Tell me about the men, I said. What? The men in the photos. Tell me about them. Danny, I don't think you said anything, so tell me. Who was the guy in the pool? The one you were wrapped around like a pretzel? Her face went white. His name is Marcus. He's a friend of Sarah's from work. And the one feeding you strawberries? I don't remember his name. You don't remember, or you don't want to tell me. I was drinking, Danny. I was drunk and stupid, and did you kiss him? Silence. Rebecca, did you kiss the man whose name you don't remember? It didn't mean anything. That's not what I asked. Yes. The word came out as a whisper. Yes, I kissed him, and Marcus, and maybe one other guy. I don't remember. I felt something cold and final settle in my chest. Did you sleep with any of them? No. God, no. Danny, I would never. But you thought about it. She didn't answer, which was answer enough. I picked up the engagement ring and held it up to the light. The diamonds sparkled, throwing those same tiny rainbows across the wall. You know what's funny? I said. I actually thought about proposing to you at the resort. The Grand Ocean View. I looked into it a few months ago, thought maybe we could have a romantic weekend there, and I could pop the question on the beach at sunset. Rebecca's eyes widened, but it was too expensive, way out of my league. So I settled for Romano's instead, the place where a guy like me could afford to make a grand gesture. I set the ring back on the table. Turns out you made it to the fancy resort anyway, just not with me. Danny, I keep thinking about that. You got your luxury weekend, your five-star experience, your champagne and strawberries and men in expensive shirts. Everything I couldn't give you? I don't care about any of that. Yes, you do. You care about it more than you care about me. I stood up, suddenly exhausted. 3 years of love, of planning a future together, of believing we wanted the same things. All of it crumbling because my fiancée decided she deserved better than a birthday dinner with a mechanic. Where are you going? Rebecca asked. To pack some things. I'm going to stay at Jake's for a while. For how long? I looked at her one last time. Really looked at her. The woman I'd loved, planned to marry, trusted completely. She was beautiful, even with red eyes and messy hair. She was smart and successful and ambitious. She was everything I'd thought I wanted. But she wasn't mine. Maybe she never had been. I don't know, I said. Maybe forever. I left her sitting at the kitchen table with her engagement ring, crying over the ruins of what we used to be. And for the first time since I'd seen those Instagram posts, I felt something other than heartbreak. I felt free.